Folks, who's out there? What's happening? You guys see me? You guys hear me? Is it working? Is this thing on? Sorry, had to. We got Ben in the house. Thanks for being here, Ben. Checking in from Ireland, says Brendan. Have been able to rehearse with the new band again. That's awesome. That's good. Got coffee? I do. I just made myself some. So I'm all set. Hope you guys are too for a little bit of a beverage, be it Sunday morning, Sunday evening, wherever you are. We got PEI Canada. Hope the weekend is good for peeps in the USA, says Michael Easter. I hear that in the maritime provinces, they have basically crushed the COVID. That there's like almost no new cases, and you guys are doing really good out there. So that's good. Good to hear. And even in Ontario, I heard that 121 cases or something like yesterday or the day before, and that was it. And there's like 14 million people in Ontario, so that was pretty impressive. Canada's doing good. Let's see, who else we got here? Another fella that's in Ireland. Just put your pickups in my Strat, says Joey Z. How do they sound? I hope you like them. Hope you're digging them. David says, Pete, since touring has stopped for now, how about releasing a monetized version of your Suhr recording clinic? Yeah, I don't know. Boy, I'm sure I'm like bright. I think I need to turn this light down a little bit. Sorry. Just gonna back it down a hair. Oh shit. That's up, not down. Yeah, I've thought about it. Maybe, you know. I mean, it would make a good series of YouTube videos too, just like a the drums, the bass, like everything, like how to record everything. And writing, I guess, would kind of make sense. But then what do I do once I get out there again, do clinics? Because that's kind of my clinic idea, is teaching that. That's sort of my format, you know. God, I hate my haircut right now. I don't know why, like, this part of my hair needs to be so like, why she cut it so like thick? Like, why does this have to be so long? And you know, it's just kind of like thick. I mean, I've had lots of haircuts before where they like kind of, you know, like texture that out and make it a little thinner so you don't look so like, I don't know, it's driving me bonkers. Anyways, welcome to my pain. I like having hair, but only when it's amenable. Is that the right word? Brendan says, Sunday evening here running scales and sipping on a nice red. That's good. It's cool, man. Keith Moon haircut, says Cody. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with it. I might just go back to my 2018 haircut pretty quick here. I'm just over it. At least you have hair, says Mesa Guitar Guy. I know. It's just pain in the butt. Jack from Ireland says, you should at least do a video on how you program drums if you don't want to give away your whole clinic. Yeah, I could do that. I mean, if you guys saw the way I did it, it really is, the program is out there already for you to make it easy, which is either Easy Drummer or Superior Drummer. And in Easy Drummer and Superior Drummer, there's a thing called Tap to Find. First of all, they come with a whole bunch of grooves, and you can buy more grooves if you want more, which I've done. Like, I've gone and bought, you know, progressive rock pack, or you know, punk rock sounding ones, or Americana sounding. I remember I was doing a blues once, and I realized I had no shuffle grooves at all, and I went and found a blues pack that included a bunch of shuffles, like 500 grooves. And so then once you've got a whole bunch of grooves in there, and you know they're there, now how do you find the right one? Well, you go and you tap in on the kick and the snare what you want close to, you know, just a kick and snare pattern. And then you can add a hi-hat or a bell if you want, whatever you want, even toms if you want, and you know, whatever. But generally speaking, I'll just tap in a kick snare pattern that's close to what I think should happen in my song. And then it spits out all these grooves that are close, and it gives you a percentage of how close they are to what you just tapped in. And you know, 82% or 99% as close as whatever. And it's just like a list of grooves, and you play them. You're like, oh yeah, that's basically what I want right there. and they'll be from one of the groove packages. It'll say which one it's from and what BPM that groove was actually made at, because it's all real drummers playing, I think, into, you know, like a probably MIDI kit or whatever, and programming in, so they've got feel and stuff. And then you can take those grooves. You're like, yeah, there's the one. That groove is close to what I tapped in. You grab that and you pull it down into a thing called the Song Creator. And then boom, it gives you lists of intro ideas, verses, choruses, bridges, fills, intros, outros, all that are like ideas that work with that initial groove. And then you literally just from those, you can pick like something that's really close to, you know, like I always find I can somebody's out there saying, Joe's saying he uses Easy Drummer exclusively, great tool. Yeah, it's just, you can put together a drum track in like 20 minutes with that kind of efficiency, you know. And if you've got a lot of grooves and you buy the drum, getting the new drum grooves is kind of addictive. I find, like getting the new packages, they're $30 for new MIDI groove packages. So every so often, every couple months, I'll go buy one and I'll get a whole bunch of new grooves and stuff, and that keeps it fresh. But and this works whether you're in Superior Drummer or Easy Drummer. It's basically the same. Superior Drummer is just like a more sophisticated version that's got more mixing capability and stuff. Easy Drummer sounds great though. It's nothing wrong with it. It's a good way to start. Such a simple piece of software. The other thing I like about TuneTrack software is the way that they authorize their stuff. So when you download it and authorize it, it's so simple and intelligent the way that they've done that. With it, they've got a download manager, and it controls all your stuff that you've bought and stuff, and it just makes it so simple. It's great. Up there in the top chat is Tommy Gleason. Thanks, Tommy. He says, do you prefer the top boost channel or normal with an AC30 for a pedal platform? I love the top boost dry, but it seems brittle with overdrives. Common problem. So it just depends what you want to do. You know, there's nothing like the Brian May thing, obviously the normal channel, but then you need the treble booster, and the normal can be kind of dark, generally speaking, with, now it depends on your AC30 too, because I got a little AC15 here that's basically an AC30 front end, and it's got a normal channel with a bright switch, and it's got a beautiful clean sound when that bright switch is on. Off, it's too dark, but so they've kind of, you know, from modern times, they've changed them a little bit. So it really depends what you're doing. You might try a very, very warm overdrive with the top boost. I mean, Tube Screamers may work, or something else that's got the ability, maybe a Jan Ray or something. Timmy. Yeah, Timmy with a treble control. Something like this might work good on an AC30 top boost channel, I would think. And you can really back down the treble. This pedal's quite warm. So, you know, what you're doing though is when you got an overdrive like that, you're blowing up the bright cap. You're pushing distortion or drive into that bright cap, and it's just making it, you know, it can be swarm of beesish if you're not careful. So try a warm drive. No, there's no way around it. Either that, or you can have somebody mod your amp and add a bright cap or something to your normal channel. Steve Roy says, nice interview with Bob Clearmountain. Thanks, Pete. Stay safe. Thanks, man. Up there in the top chat. Appreciate that. Yeah. So if you guys haven't seen, I did an interview with Bob. It was quite some time ago, and I finally got it out. And I'm really glad I did. People seem to be liking it. Most people come to my channel, obviously, for guitar related stuff. So I knew it was going to be like fewer views than a, you know, if it had been, you know, David Gilmour or something being interviewed, you know. But Bob is such a legend, really on par with someone like a David Gilmour in my mind. He is that of mixing. So, you know, folks should really go watch it. There's some great stories in there about Nile Rodgers and Stevie Ray Vaughan, and of course Bowie and the Stones and Springsteen and all the folks that, I mean, Bob is still the go-to mixer for Rolling Stones and folks like Springsteen, and he's still working with these people all the time. So he's just such a legend. So to sit there and get to interview him and talk to him is a real pleasure. He's, as you can tell from the interview as well, if you've watched it, or if you haven't, please check it out. His demeanor is, I mean, he's such a pleasant guy, and he rarely will take credit for anything. He'll always, you know, pass the credit to someone else or say it was an accident, or, I mean, he's just the most, it's strange because he has I mean, he really has an air of confidence about him, and yet he's so unassuming, and I don't know, like it's his, he just, you know what I'm getting at. He's just a really, really marvelous guy. Well, you know, he knows that he's Bob Clearmountain and all that, but he's also just his I don't know. It's nice. I get to talk to some of these people sometimes. Like Vi was like that too. He's just so nice and cool and such a great guy, and yet he's aware of his status and all that. It's nice to know you can be both those things, and that these people have got their head screwed on straight and all that. But anyway, please check out the interview, and soon the second part of that interview will be coming out, and it will feature. He actually mixed a song of mine when I was there. So I mean, he worked on it for a couple hours before I got there, and then we did the interview and stuff, and then he actually did a little bit more work on it after I'd left. But so there's a track that is a single of mine that I will put out that he mixed, and we'll kind of use the song as a bit more of a sort of a mixing clinic. He shows his Clear Mountain's domain plugin, which is basically recreating the way that he does his post path, all his effects, reverbs, delays, and de-essing and stuff like that. And it's really great. I think that he kind of pulls back the curtain and talks a lot. One of the most interesting things, and I didn't know this because I'm a novice mixer, really, when it comes right down to it, is that he de-esses things going into his reverbs and delays. So there's a lot of de-essing going on, like severe de-essing, so that as things like vocals and things are hitting reverbs, the S's and the P's and the pops and all that stuff, they can create a lot of intensity in the mix that really makes those reverbs apparent, or those delays apparent. It makes them stand out. And if you want to use a lot of reverb, a lot of delay to build ambience, his whole de-essing thing allows you to bring up the level of those reverbs and delays without them sounding so obvious and taking over the mix, because it's those plosive sounds that really plosive sounds that really can kind of muddy up or muck up a mix with verb and delay and stuff. So it's really interesting. So he goes over that, and it's cool. So that'll be coming out pretty soon, and I'll put out the single at the same time. What else we got going here? Jennifer Preachy is up there in the top chat. She says, "Hi Pete, stopping in for a quick hi." Thank you so much for that, Jennifer. Appreciate it. Miss Learning, miss the energy in this room. We'll hang out. Come back. We're all here. Whenever you can make it, we will be here. I promise. Matt says, "Thank you for sharing and teaching what you know." Thanks, man. I appreciate that. I do. Thanks for being here. I'm happy that you're here. What song would you advise someone beginner like me to start and learn? Rock and blues, says 777 Danny. Well, that's a good. What do you guys think? Depends what your version of rock and blues is, I guess. My first stuff was like songs by The Who, and I mean, a riff like Heartbreaker by Led Zeppelin. Down, 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 can be good for learning how to, alternate pick and get your hands synced together. Or riffs like Black Dog by Jimmy Page, that can be cool, like kind of, because it's almost like lead guitar. So if you can get a little bit of that down, I guess that Black Dog might even be a bit more intermediate as far as a riff goes. But if you can learn a few of those things, that would be good. Something like Paperback Writer by the Beatles, that'd be great, and learning Beatles songs in general, like the chords and the, and if you want to finger pick it all, they've got some beautiful, beautiful songs that you can, like, Dear Prudence is a great one, or things like, I don't know, House of the Rising Sun. That's cool with the arpeggios and the kind of arpeggiated chord strumming, and all your basic chords are in there. You've got A minor and C and D and F and E, so that's going to be helpful. There's a little list right there. I would tackle some of those. What else? Good Beatles songs to learn. It's something like I Feel Fine is really cool because of the power chords, and you kind of got to use your pinky a little bit. It's a little bit tricky. and then the simple little lead guitar parts in Beatles. You know, it's kind of cool. Like, I have the guitar here. All that stuff. You know, how's it go? Oh shit! I forget how to play Paperback Writer. You know, little things like that could be great. Or like I said, learning riffs like that, really, really, really good. So Zeppelin riffs, Beatles riffs. Or if you're into more 90s, you know, of course, there was always the old. I think all those songs are great for learning the basics of getting your right and your left hand synced. You know, basic stuff. Okay, that's funny. I forgot. I actually forgot in my head how Paperback Writer went for a minute there. I don't want to mispronounce your name. Hisek is up in the top chat there. He says, "Is Indian classical music worth looking into as a guitarist?" Geez, man, I don't know. That's beyond my pay grade. But I will tell you that one of the best concerts that I've ever been to was a guy that was supposedly the number 2 sitar player in the world, and he did a show at the what was the theater in West LA? It was actually by UCLA. Anyway, it doesn't matter, but it was a theater in UCLA campus, and it was a 2 or 3 hour show. And he played with the tabla player for a little while. I'm forgetting the guy's name. This is 20 years ago or something that I saw this. But I was invited to go, and I went, and it was absolutely one of the most stellar things I've ever seen. This dude and his mastery of the sitar was like just absolutely spellbinding. He would play melodies where he would pick a note, and then he would bend the string, and you would hear 10 distinct pitches, like an entire melody off of one pluck of the string, and he would play these incredible melodies, and it was so dynamic, and it was absolutely unbelievable. Anyway, it was just a great. That's my only experience seeing, like, I guess what was probably some Indian classical music live, and it was spellbinding. There was folks there that were watching the show, and they were they knew the material that he was playing, some of it, and they were visibly and audibly moved, like where there was a guy in front of me just going like, "Oh man, oh," he was just like, because he was hearing a song that he knew, and the way that this guy's interpretation of it was just, and I was blown away, and I'd never even heard it before, but this guy was like, like, I guess, to see somebody like that maybe in LA is a rare thing, and maybe this fellow lived there or something and hadn't heard that music in a long time or something. He was really, I don't know. It was great. It was unbelievable. What else we got here? Thinking of maybe to change the AC for a Badger 35, Tommy Gleason says. Were you, sorry, Tommy, I forget if you're the guy that asked the question about the pedals not sounding good on the top boost channel of an AC30, but if you were, a Badger 35 is a way more pedal friendly amp than most AC30s, I find. I mean, John kind of built it to be, John really thinks actually a lot of the time with the front end of his amps about pedals, like when, about it not being, like for instance on a Bella, it's got a 3-position bright switch, and that's the reason, so that you can just simply flip that bright and make it work with different pedals real easy. Yeah, because it really is the way that the pedal interacts with that input stage, how successful it's going to be. It could be a great pedal with some amps and not so good with others. Well, you can sort of mitigate that and tune it if you've got a bright that. So anyways, with a Badger, it doesn't, I find they work with a lot of pedals really well. It's just not exactly the same sound as an AC30 though. An AC30 is a unique beast, and if you love the core kind of AC30 thing, it's awesome. So, best thing is to have them both around, I guess, for whatever you're doing. I wonder what the Edge uses for overdrive with. I mean, I know he uses a lot of fuzzes and stuff with AC, but he's in the top boost channel a lot, so all the time, I think, right? It'd be interesting to see what's in his rig for drives and stuff, because he gets some great drive tones. Maybe investigate that. Alex B is up there in the top chat. He says, "Have I ever tried non-stock speakers with my Bella?" Well, I mean, I've tried it actually through all kinds of impulse responses. So, what's the best for edge of breakup and higher gain with that amp? Well, it comes with a V-type, which isn't a bad speaker at all, I don't think. I find it's a good all-round speaker, really. So when you're running overdrive pedals into it or something, that's going to be a, pretty cool. Best for, best. It's like it's hard to say what, because edge of breakup, you can push the amp into breakup, yes, but it's going to be pretty loud by that point because it's got a pretty clean front end, fairly. It's hard to say, dude. Like what it really depends on what you're pushing. If you're running a Riot or something into it, I mean, I don't mind the stock speaker at all. I think a V-type is actually a pretty decent speaker. If you want something warmer, that's got a little less rasp or whatever on the top end, try the A-type. Actually, John isn't a huge fan of them. I actually really quite like them. There's a video of me demoing an A-type on my channel. You can hear somewhere. Just search my name and Celestion A-type and it'll pop up. But I think that's a really nice Celestion for if you want more of a vintage kind of high gain thing. They kind of sound like worn in greenbacks. Another speaker that could be really good with the Bella, because it is a combo, is maybe if you like edge of breakup or higher gain, you want a woody kind of greenback thing, is try a Neo Cream back, because it's lighter. So it's going to shave a few pounds off the amp, which is always a bonus, right? So I would say either a Neo Creamback. If you want a real warm kind of tone, like the Alnico Creamback, Alnico Cream, that's a really nice speaker. And it's a high power speaker, so it'll handle the 40 or 50 watts that a Bella puts out, whatever it is. It's a 100-watt speaker, and it's a terrific sounding, really lively, wonderful analog. Alnico is what I meant. Sounding speaker. Really like it. So let's see. Tim Carter says, "What's your relationship like with Ian Thornley?" We're friends. I talk to him once in a while. I don't get to talk to him that much because he lives up in Toronto and stuff. But if you were to play high gain metal live, would you worry more about tone or rig convenience? Well, unfortunately, I think it's a combination of both, isn't it? Always. It seems like all high gain sounds get washy live. Yeah, I would agree. It's tough to get a good high gain. It's not like often that I see crushing sounding awesome high gain. It's really down to the front of house engineer a lot. So like, for example, with like Alice in Chains, which is one of the best sounding heavy rock bands that I've seen live. I don't call it metal, but it's hard rock, right? For sure. They have this Tom Abraham's the engineer, and he actually comes in here sometimes on Sundays. So Tom, if you're there, hello. Give you props once again. One of the best sounding shows I've ever seen. He mixed, and really to a large degree. I mean, it's Jerry and his choice of amps. He uses nice amps. He uses generally it's Friedman's, as well as he's got a signature Friedman and sometimes a Bogner in the mix, and he's blending them and stuff. But the sound out front, as I understand it, is Palmers that are tweaked, so it's EQ'd. I think that's what he's doing. I'm not 100% sure. Tom doesn't mix them anymore, actually. That's true. They've got other sound guys now. But back when I saw them, that was what was going on. It was Palmer's. It was speaker simulation. So Jerry has cabinets, and he uses mics on them, I think. And that's what he monitors, is the mic sound. But Tom actually would take the Palmer's, I think, and then EQ them to his taste, and whatever was going on in the PA sounded unbelievable. That's actually like using impulse responses, first of all, would be a great thing, because many times with metal, it's a lot of low end on stage and bass and just a lot of action in general, and crap getting in the mics and stuff can just, so if you want a really present sound in the PA, get a great IR and use a terrific amplifier, obviously. And what I find with IRs in the PA, or speaker simulation in the PA with load boxes and speaker simulation and all that. Don't have to use the load box, still use a cab, but taking an IR to the PA at least, or even something like a Palmer or the Suhr Ace or something, your sound is very present in the PA and it's like glued to the speakers. It just sounds like really in your face. That goes for any style of music, but certainly in metal, I think it's kind of probably it's part of the reason why probably for some guys Axe Effects or Kempers or things can work too, because obviously that's what's going on with those. It's a direct feed to the PA many times, and just not having a mic in a live setting on a loud stage where there's a lot of bleed and the mic isn't necessarily in the best position, the ideal position, with it's intensely distorted sounds and it's loud and there's a lot going on, and just kind of the more clarity you can have is good with that kind of music, I think. So if you haven't tried it, investigating using some sort of cab sim, and maybe even really dialing in a studio or something your sound, so that there's an ultimate IR for me. It sounds like terrific coming out of the studio monitors. Generally, that's always going to work well in a PA. I find they might need to do some EQ tweaks or whatever to fit it in with the band. But anyway, and yeah, thanks Tim for doing the top chat. With regards to Ian, yeah, I mean we talk once in a while, and I should check in with him and see how he's doing. But he's a great guy, and he's I last saw him at the Big Rec show when they played here in LA on the tour for the last record. It would have been last fall, I guess. Don't remember exactly when it was, to be honest. It's not that long ago. I mean, it was probably like 4 or 5 months ago. 6 months. 6 months. Yeah, we're in June already, or July. Is it July? Yeah, it's July. Holy shit, it's the 4th, 5th. I forget. So it's July 5th. So I think it was late last year, like November, December. That's my memory of it. But obviously, I can't even remember what month it is right now. So probably shouldn't ask me. Let's see here. Lute89 is up there in the top chat. He says, Pete, you play that Danelectro baritone quite a bit. I'm interested in getting one. I highly recommend it. They're fun. Can you discuss some of the nuances of it and how you use it in the mix? Well, it's got interesting pickups that are, first of all, those lipstick tubes that are wired in, you can wire the two in the bridge in series to make a powerful humbucker, but you can also tap and get a thinner single coil sound out of the bridge, and then the neck pickup is that big kind of P90 looking thing, and it's I like the middle position a lot. I sometimes use the neck, but it's mainly middle or bridge. I would say mainly middle, but sometimes I'll tap and do so it's like the two single coils, neck and bridge single coil together, and use the middle position. And sometimes I'll tap, use the bridge, and sometimes I'll use the bridge full humbucking. Those are the three main positions that I use. The tremolo is awesome, because having like a good tremolo on a baritone is weird and cool. Like you can do some fun things. They play really well. You're going to notice the quality of the guitar is pretty damn high for like, obviously they're made overseas and stuff, but it's like the finish is really good on them, like superior. Wherever they're getting them done, it just seems like they're really cool. Now, I got a 12 string a few days ago from them. Would you like to see it? Exactly the same. I'll get it. Same body. That finish is a little different. So, hollow, because they're a semi-hollow design. But check it out. It's pretty cool. Super Mosrite looking, right? And it's a 12. It's not in tune. It's a little sour. Sorry about that. But pretty cool guitar. So the same setting. So I can just show you, like same thing applies for the baritone. You've got a coil tap there in the tone pot, so that'll tap. I'm not sure if this one's on or this one's on. It's probably the inside one. And then the 3-position switch. And but yeah, you'll notice the finish on them is just gorgeous, man. Like whoever I don't know, really well done. Like, for what they are, they're pretty great. Where are they made? I think it's Korea. Yeah, Korea. It's one of the Korean factories. Please don't fall. Seems to be okay. What else have we got going here, you guys? Let's see here. I'm going to move down to the bottom of the chat here. How chunky is the neck on the 12 string? It's quite wide, but not too thick. Very comfortable. Danelectro 12 strings play very easy. Have I ever played a Gibson ES325? I have not really, I don't think. What's a 325? Is it P90s and no center block? Kind of all hollow. If it weren't for the internet, I wouldn't know of any big rec fans, says Tim Carter. Yeah, well, I mean, they really, I like to think I was actually helpful in hooking up Ian with Suhr, with exposing some more people to big rec, because I feel like the Suhr connection and the internet forums, just the Guitar Geek forums, helped blow it up a little bit, and let people know elsewhere in Europe and the States and stuff about the band. So I'm really glad Ian hooked up with Suhr, and that I don't know, they're both great guys, John and Ian, so it just makes sense. Hello from Ukraine, says Max Music. What's up, man? How you doing over there? Pete Thorn, when is the new album? Well, I want to put out something. I think I actually might just do like an EP next or something like that. That's been my plan for a while. Do 4 tunes or something, 3-4 tunes, put them out together. Suhr, and I have a plan to do that with. I'm actually putting out a single soon, which I brought up earlier. If folks that are just getting in here now haven't seen it, yesterday I put up an interview with Bob Clearmountain, legendary mixer, engineer, producer, Rolling Stones, Bruce Springsteen, Bryan Adams, Roxy Music, David Bowie. Great stuff. So check out the interview, because there's lots of great stuff in there for guitar players, but also just from music fans in general, and folks that do any kind of recording and mixing. It's pretty interesting. One of the most interesting things is probably how he organizes his console, and he shows that, which I found really interesting. But I found all of it fascinating as I was doing it. So please check it out. But why was I talking about that? I don't know. I'm not sure. I completely lost my train of thought. Suhr says, love your sounds and tones. Just downloaded Positive Grid Bias Amp 2. What are your thoughts on it? I've used it a little bit. Bias Amp seems to sound pretty cool. I mean, I did a couple demos. Mainly the last one I did was for Celestion, because they were featuring Celestion impulse responses. So I was sort of showing those working with bias. Any tips for a person new to DAWs? The number one thing with learning a DAW is import a track into it. Many times they will give you a sample track to work with. That's kind of like a piece of music that it just comes with. You know what I mean? Like a demo track. Learn using that, as opposed to like recording your own track and then trying to figure out the DAW and while you're trying to be creative. That's my number one thing, is separate your left brain and your right brain. That whole thing. Like, allow yourself to just be analytical and learning and focused on that by using some piece of music that you're not intimately trying to create, that you're involved with. And it allows you to just kind of go, okay, how do I do a crossfade? How do I edit? Oh, and you're only in learning mode at that point, because it's not your piece of music. This goes for a lot of things, but yeah, if you can separate learning time from creative time, it's a good thing, I find. Get the learning curve into a different, it's a different headspace and a different, I'm hating my hair again. It's just driving me crazy right now. You might see me next week with throwback haircut. I don't know if I can deal with this. I was going to grow it out. I was like, I want long hair again, but that's going to be like a year. I don't know if I can handle it. I might just wear a hat. How about that? I'll just wear a hat. Have you ever played through a Fryette Deliverance, says Ramon. Funny you should mention that. I'm doing the preamp module Deliverance module for the Synergy system. Is the next video I will make for that little preamp system. So that's going to happen soon. So no, I have not, but I will try that. Only in the modeling world have I ever tried a Deliverance. They've got their, Axe-Fex ones and et cetera, et cetera. So I've tried those, but yeah. Yeah. So soon that'll be coming. What else do we got here? I'm looking through the questions. Are you digging the Slate? Yeah, you actually seeing it, aren't you? The microphone right here. So this is great. This is somebody's asking if I'm digging the Slate ML-1. This is a modeling microphone. And so what it does is it's a real flat microphone from Slate Digital, Stephen Slate. They're about $500 on sale. I bought it for, but I think it's $799 normally. It's a very reasonably priced microphone, but it comes with a software suite of models, not unlike guitar amp models or whatever, that you can apply to the microphone via a plugin in your DAW. And it's like U47s, U67, C12, Sony 800, SM7, all these great mics. And it really works and sounds great. I mean, I'm not directly A-Bing it with all those microphones, but like it sounds good. That's all I care about. I try all the different ones. And you've heard it. Like if you listen to the demo I just did, I think I used it on the Clear Mountain video that I put out yesterday where I do the voiceover at the beginning. So that would be, I think I used either the Sony 800 or the C12, which both have a nice airy kind of top end. And then you can add virtual mic pre's too. So you use a real flat pre with it. They make a pre for it. I didn't get the pre. They just recommended I use my UA and just don't add any kind of mic pre simulation in the UA. Do it in their plugin. So I use their Neve 1073, the Slate 1073 virtual pre with either the C12 or the Sony 800 for the voiceover, and it sounds really good. I mean, it just adds, just puts the sonic stamp of each of those microphones on the. This is very, very flat kind of reference microphone, I guess, and then you can take it and tweak it with the different models. Like I say, I don't know how exactly how close it gets to a $8,000 U47 or whatever, but it sure sounds good to me. And they've got lots of great demos of it up on the internet. Yeah. All right. What else do we got here? Is Leo here? I think Leo from Frog Leap might be in the house, maybe. Somebody was saying hello to him. I wonder if he's here. I love Leo. He's the best. Very talented dude. Bright guy. He makes great stuff. Pete, can you explain the difference between Rocket Archer with the Jeff Beck mod and stock? I've never, once again, I haven't directly AB'd them, but they sent me one of the Jeff Beck ones, and I just really liked it, and I like Klon, so I put it on my board. I never did like a, I think it's just like certain resistors or something that are in there, or caps or something, carbon comp this or whatever. I don't know. You'd have to ask the guys from Rocket exactly what's different, but I think there's about $100 difference in the price between the regular one and the one that's got the parts that they put in the Jeff Beck Model 1. So I've had it on my board for a couple of years now, and I really like it. Yeah. Let's see. Okay, I'm way back again in the chat, so I'm going to move down. How are the drum samples on the Nux JTC Pro Drum Loop Pro? I don't know on that. I'm not sure. Let's see. Good guitar finishing has been legislated out in the USA, says Diana Thompson. Or Diana. Not really. I mean, you can still shoot nitro in California. You just can only do a certain amount. So that's not really true. I mean, it depends what you consider good guitar finishing. But like, for example, I know like Suhr, they can do a certain amount of nitro. It's a limited amount that you're allowed to do, that the law lets you do. And you probably, they've got a killer paint booth and whatever the environmental controls and all that. You just have to stick to, but plenty of people shoot nitro in California. You just have to do it in limited quantities. That's all. And that's California, which is the most restrictive EPA kind of regulations in the country, I think. So I don't think it's been legislated out. And, the reality is for most people, nitro isn't the be all end all for every guitar. A lot of people, that like, polyurethane or whatever urethane finishes and stuff like that many times. Like whatever Suhr does on their most of the guitars is beautiful and really durable, and not so. It just depends, you know. Joey Z says, "What do you think about the Aldrich pickups?" I haven't really tried them that much beyond I have them in my modern, and I play that guitar once in a while, the brown one, on some demos and stuff. So I don't know. It sounds the bridge pickup strikes me as quite open, I will say, for being a high output pickup with a 17K, you know, supposedly. But that doesn't mean that's not output. You know, it doesn't tell you the whole story of the tone of the pickup. So it's not like a mid bomb. I will say that it's got a rather open sound for a high output pickup. So, but I haven't messed with them too much. So, Patrick Carroll wants to know. He says, "I know I keep asking, did you YouTube Eric Hagen yet?" No, I haven't. I'm gonna that in right now so that I can look at it after the show. Okay, there we go. I see him. Looks like he plays a Mustang. I'm gonna watch this after, I promise. And I'll work on some of his stuff. Do some jamming. Hey Pete, late to the party. What's your favorite amp sim? The PT100 from Universal Audio. They did a great job. No, honestly, I think it's my favorite. I've got favorites in each device. For high gain, generally speaking, I find like in the Helix, it's the BE, the Friedman. And in the Axe Effects also. Like, for instance, I did those Axe Effects presets recently, 10 presets for them. I used the BE in there to get more of a plexi sound. I just like it. It's very controlled. I don't know. It's like a, you know, Dave's version of Marshall is, it's a great sound that you can get lower gain sounds and go all the way to higher gain. So it's just very versatile, and it's kind of tuned in and not too wild in the lows and whatever. And any, you know, it's just kind of, you know, a great place to start from. So Joe Wright says, any new guitar in the works? Working on some things, always moving forward. Nothing I can really detail, but yeah, working on some things. Which I have UAD. Sorry, missed what you said Bedlam 46. The PT100. Yeah, I was mentioning. So there's a PT100 plugin that is awesome, I have to say. It gets many thumbs up and allocates and positive comments and things from players all over the spectrum, I find, because it is really, really damn good. Like the clean channel on it's great, and the drive sounds are, I don't know, it's terrific sounding. You got to try it. For clean to high gain, I think it's the best one that is. And this, I'm not tooting my own horn because it was really Brainworks. They just nailed it. You know, they did a great job on it, and I think it's a terrific plugin for getting great guitar. Excuse me. Oh, how rude. Great guitar tones on UAD. Miguel says, PT100, I'm recording a song for my band with that great plugin. I would like you to hear it. I love the tone. That's awesome, dude. Send us a YouTube link or something once you're done. Once you put it out, come back in the show here and send us a link. We'll go take a listen. Double Life says, even my non-guitarist girlfriend loves to listen to you. Thanks, man. Appreciate that. Say hello to her. Hope you were both well this weekend. Ray Leonard says, how did the Suhr guitars differ from Fender? In my mind, it's just really a question of John's personal things that bother him and little things that he thinks he could tweak and make better. And then he tweaks those things and makes them better. You know, things like the neck heel, neck shapes, frets, pickups, the way the noise canceling is done, for example, is different than on Fenders. All this kind of stuff, you know, it's basically Suhrs are perfected, you know, that's what I think. Now, there's great Fender guitars out there too, and great new ones being made. They make nice instruments too, but you know, it's just different builders, and different ways to approach things. So, you know, things like string trees, you don't need those things. You know, staggered tuners and compound radiuses, etc., etc. Which they do on some Fenders too. But Andre says, "Are you satisfied with Suhr's job on the Thornbuckers? I mean, you always sound good tone wise, but did you like them? I love them, man. I think they're great. Um, I'm always moving forward to trying different things. So I'm actually trying a couple things right now that who knows, maybe they'll show up someday, but for slightly different tones. But if you want a great PAF, one of the greatest things about Thornbucker is how they balance, as anybody out there has them knows, with a single coils. So if you've got a hum single setup, a Thornbucker in the bridge is not really that much louder than the single coils if they're kind of medium to medium high output singles, like a 6K single, something like that. So they just are a beautiful sounding pickup that blends great with the slightly warmer, real sweet top end of the Thornbucker and Thornbucker Plus in the bridge really complements neck single coil, I find. And I don't know, both positions just sound really, really, really cool. So what you will find is, in comparison with something like a PAF that's an Alnico 5 magnet PAF type pickup in the bridge, it's going to be louder and more. It's just there's going to be more of a difference in volume. Sometimes you want that. Sometimes some people might want that. If I was playing certain styles of music, that's not necessarily a bad thing. But it's just the balance, the all over balance that you'll find. It's a humbucker that just works. I don't know, just really sweet sounding that works great with singles, works great for lots of different kinds of music, and they balance beautifully with one another. A neck and bridge set, all three positions sound wonderful. If you had to choose one year as the best year for music for your personal taste, what year would you choose and why? Says Tim Carter there in the top chat. 1 year for music. I don't know, man. I mean, when I grew up and started listening, it was a pretty powerful time in music, which was around, I started really becoming aware in probably 79 or 80, 81. And so it was getting into the 80s, and you were, you had the whole MTV thing going on. You had new wave coming out and that whole thing happening. You had Van Halen, you had AC/DC doing Back in Black. And then for those about to rock, you had, so there was, new wave of British heavy metal was coming, but you also had all this great new wave music and bands that were, complete, you had the Pretenders, and you had The Cure, and you had Judas Priest, and you had Iron Maiden, you had AC/DC, and then Metallica showed up in like 1982 or 83, whenever. And blues, there was this huge resurgence all of a sudden with like Stevie Ray Vaughan coming out, and that was like, put blues back in, on the map and in the perspective of people. And you still had bands that were still relatively young, really, like the Rolling Stones. I mean, we're only like, those guys were like 40. They weren't that old then. So they were, so it was a really great time in music, I find. So maybe for me, it would be around then, like around, it's hard to pick a year, but 1980 might have been like kind of to me, a great time in music, where you still had the majesty of the 70s and the promise of the future. I don't know. But beyond that, I'm sure anybody that's 10 years older than me would feel that way about 1969, when you had Led Zeppelin and Jeff Beck group and Hendrix and the Beatles, coming out with, just imagine being alive when the Beatles released and aware of music when the Beatles released Abbey Road and Let It Be, like when it's like, oh, they both come out within like 12 months of one another or something, right? There's a new Beatles record out. Oh, they just released one. There's another one. Oh, wow, this one's amazing too. Like, imagine being alive during that time, where that was the new music coming out. The current stuff. It's been incredible. So I would have to pick 69 or maybe 80. Jason Tong, and similarly, like in the early 90s was a really powerful time in music, I find too. Like, so we can't discount, like, maybe not as, but I don't know, like, the whole Seattle coming in 92, I was very aware of that and of the age where I was, already sort of playing semi-professionally anyway at that point. And That was a powerful shift in music too. You know, it was like, oh, there's this great music coming out of there's this great bands that are making this really heartfelt music that seems to matter. I don't know. So around 92, 93, it was a cool time, a seismic shift in popular music. Jason is up there in the top chat. He says, love your work, mate. I've got a Basswood Bengal Burst Modern, 2 humbuckers with a set of thornbuckers in it. How different, similar do you think it will be to your signature guitar tone-wise? Interesting. Is it a maple neck, rosewood board? It's going to be a little different. The all mahogany thing is a thing. Mahogany neck, mahogany body. It's got a certain sound. Basswood I find is really great for high gain. It's got this really wonderful warm quality to it that like I've got my Wolfgang here and I use it for a certain thing. And when you hear it, it's like, oh yeah, it's just this really I don't know, it's warm. I don't know how to describe it, but it's not murky. It's not like if you got an all mahogany guitar, I find they can be dark and murky, too much mids, like it's kind of like no clarity. I don't feel that way about Basswood. When you hear a Basswood guitar, which was like a lot of the Ibanez's that came out in the late 80s and 90s, and a bunch of guitars were Basswood. That was the thing, you know. It was, but it did have a nice sound, and I think John really likes Basswood. You know, Basswood with a maple top. Maybe it's not dissimilar to mahogany in some ways, with its warmth, but that's why many times you'll see guys put like, you know, Basswood with a maple top, and it can be a good thing. I think a lot of Suhrs, a lot of Andersons and things are that, right? That combo. I don't know. I'd have to A/B and really hear, you know, the differences. My guess is that it's not as pronounced mid-range wise, but still with the similar warmth. There's more mids in a mahogany guitar, more pronounced kind of mid-range, I think. I could be wrong. Andrew is up there in the top super duper chat. Thanks, man. He says Thornbuckers are actually quieter for me compared to Alnico 3 PAF. Yeah, that could be. I just tested it in Suhr Aura, but great ones for sure. Good job. What are the Alnico 3s you've used? I'm not really. I have Alnico 3 magnets in my telly. It's got split, kind of like Duncan 5.2s or 2s and 5s. It's got 3s and 5s. So that's what Ron Ellis, the fellow that gave me my pedal vise, awesome pickup maker. He makes the pickups with the split, you know, split Alnico 3s for the high strings and then Alnico 5s for the low strings, which I think is really cool. Makes sense. Warm up the high strings on a telly or a Strat, you know. But Alnico 3 PAF, I wonder what brand they are. I wonder who made those. And you've got an Aura. That's cool. Beautiful guitars, man. A lot of love goes into each one. Let's see. Good point on productivity. 7 years, all those great records till Paul died. John couldn't go on with it. Come on, Diana. You don't believe that, do you? You think Paul's a pod person? You're into the conspiracy theories. Let's see. Team@73 says he loves so much music and so many genres. Me too. I'm the same way. Do I have a favorite neck profile? I kind of have a few favorites. I mean, generally speaking, I love a vintage kind of not too much shoulder with a little bit of a very slight soft V, which some of my favorite necks have. That's kind of my favorite. What if I could pick up, you know, it stems back to like picking up a vintage Les Pauls or certain old Strats, even my 64 Strat, whoever sanded it, it's got this slight V to it. That's not common for that era of guitar. You know, the 50s ones, they had a V neck. I don't mean it's a V neck. I mean, it's got, you just feel like a little less shoulder and then a bit of a round bump like on the back, and it can be even offset, which is extra magic, you know. Just feels like really organic or something. I don't know, like because it was shaped by hand. That's the thing. I remember Gil Yaron telling me, it's like part of the magic feeling of those old Les Pauls and stuff like that. And because he knows the way that they shape the necks and how they did them by hand. Each one is a little bit unique because each one was sanded by hand. So they've all got a slightly unique, uneven feel to them that is really, when you find one that works, it's amazing. Pete, is that actually you in your younger years on the Guitar Nerd cover? You can tell, right? I got the glasses on right now. I don't know. The hair's not actually that different. I could go with the scissors right now, and in about 10 minutes, I think I could have the Guitar Nerd haircut. Pretty close. Yeah. With whatever I got going on right now. I should just do it. Let's just do that, and then I'll just shave it all off. I'll recreate the cover. I'll go to a photo studio for the next record. It'll be me with the same, yeah. The problem is I won't be able to find that guitar. Basswood is soft and dings easily, says Dripping Glass. That's true. It is a softer wood. I know with Floyd's and stuff, it can be problematic sometimes if you're this is overzealous with the tremolo, because the posts can actually pull out easier on a Basswood guitar. Remember when Floyd's, they didn't have inserts? It was just wood screws right into the body. And I think there was cases of people ripping them right out of the guitar at times. Yeah. Tim Carter says, Seattle was very important to me. I was performing in the Pacific Northwest in the 90s. People really misunderstood what was happening. I believe that that's true. Yeah. But it was a real, I loved the whole, like, people's hearts were in the right place then, I think. And it was a real kind of organic movement. And maybe the last time that there was this big record company, big business machine that got behind that and let people do what they wanted to do. Because the one great thing that happened in Seattle, I know this for a fact, I was talking to people like Chris Cornell about it, was that the bands really didn't give a shit, I don't think, to a great extent, whether or not anybody else got into it or not. They were making that music for them. So it was this really heartfelt thing that, and there was a lot of honesty going on. And by the time the labels got involved, the bands were already getting to be so big, like a band like Soundgarden. By the time that they finally signed with a major and came up with a record contract, they were allowed to do whatever the hell they wanted to do, from the album art to the music they didn't have to let the band hear the records before they release, or let the label hear the records before they release them. They had total creative control over every aspect of their career. And that was just how it was. Like, you want to sign us, that's the way it's going to be. And the labels were like, okay. And so that there's this incredible, like, combination of that big machine, but it was kind of working for them. So pretty cool time in music, really, the way that it happened. And the best thing is always the organic stuff, when it's like, exists outside of any kind of, like this. That's what this is, this is awesome. The fact there's no company sponsoring this or right now, or I can say whatever the hell I want to say. I can do whatever I want to do. And you guys that come and hang on a Sunday morning. And I don't know, this is like a small example of that spirit, I think, where it's like, we can hang, and it's not some, like, I don't know. That's YouTube to me in many ways. It's power, and kind of you can be honest and do your own thing. If you just do good stuff, people will come. That was Seattle to me. Like, just do good work and from the heart, and enough people out there are starving for real good. Yeah, that's art. I like that. It resonates with me, so it's cool. Let's see. Vpass. I hope I'm saying your name right. I'm sorry if I'm not. Vpass. Sorry. I'd asked you about the Badger 35 earlier, and you were right. Amazing amp. Thinking of running an Archer into a King of Tone into the Badger. What's your take on stacking overdrives? That sounds like it'll probably work really well if you use the King of Tone for, especially the clean side of the King of Tone into a Badger. I bet I don't know that I've ever done that exactly with that amp, but I've done it into the Kelly and stuff, and it's just a great sound. So I know it'll work well with a Badger. There's no doubt in my mind the King of Tone will sound great with a Badger. And then boosting it with something like an Archer for lead sound is great. That's not going to be like a metal sound or something, but for a great, rootsy, if you're doing, anything, country, Americana, rock and roll, whatever you're doing, that's going to be a nice rig. And then if you've got a fuzz or something, you got it all. I think for a great setup. Badger 35 is a great amp, really great amp. I don't want to say it's my favorite out of the. I like the 18, but it's a little low power, and the 35 sounds exactly the same. And with the power scaling, you can get it down to the level of the 18 with no compromises at all. So, Melissa Etheridge, she used a Badger 35 for a long time on the road when I was with her, and she used to run the power and the drive on about half. So she was probably getting like 10 watts out of the amp or something. It was perfect volume on stage for her. And yeah, so there's no downside to a 35 over an 18. So it's great. And then the 30 is just if you're a bit more of a rocker and you want more Marshall, I think. But I think that the 35 does that magic edge of breakup thing probably best out of the whole line that the line is kind of known for. Yeah. Yeah, I hope that's helpful. But I think you're going to have a great rig there with those. That's going to be a good setup. Those pedals in that amp. Thank you for doing the top chat. You guys rock. Let's see. What gear, maybe vintage stuff, are you looking for personally? Says Norbert. If I ever saw a gold top Les Paul that was a reasonable price and I happen to have money, like I'd love to find a refinned one or a headstock break one. Maybe the one that I had. That would be the guitar. If I could have the one that I had, which I sold to a guy in Hawaii, in the mid 90s. So I bought it, had it for a couple of years, and I sold it to a guy in Hawaii. And I never should have sold it. It was so stupid. But if I could just get that guitar back, which had a top that had been nicely refinned at some point, maybe in the 70s, and it had a headstock repair, and it was a great gold top 54 Les Paul. And so I don't know what that guitar would cost now with those repairs. Maybe it'd probably be somewhere between 10 and 20 grand would be my guess. Something like that. I would probably buy it if I could, just to get it back, because I felt like it was such a mistake, and it hurts me every time I think about selling it. But something like that, like a good gold top that has maybe had a headstock repair or something that was a real reasonable price. That'd be something I would look at getting. It's hard because whenever I go, generally speaking, like my vintage stuff, it's been when I go to Japan or something, or when I'm on the road and I have money. If I like, because you're on tour and you're like making money every day, you're making money and you're putting money in the bank. You're like, I got money. I could actually buy something for myself right now if I wanted to. And you've got days off, and you go to some vintage guitar store in some far-flung location. Like, it's pretty rare I'm gonna, like in LA, like go to Norm's or something and buy a vintage guitar. Nothing against Norm's or anything like that. I love it, but it's more a thing that I do when I'm in that fantasy space of tour. Japan, and you go and you see some guitar and like, God, I think I could swing that, and it's fun because you're in a weird place. And that's the other thing about Japan. There's so many guitar stores and there's tons of great guitars. So, within a walking distance, I can, if I'm staying in Shibuya, I can go to Ishibashi and to Hartman Vintage and in one afternoon, in a few hours, I can hit 3 or 4 great vintage stores and go get lunch and just have a good, I can go to Daikanyama and go to a Guitar Trader, which is where my telly came from. And I don't know, it's just fun. I just got homesick for Japan right now. I want to go again. Spy 590 is up there in the super duper top chat thing. It says happy 4th. Yeah, I hope you guys had a good one. God, the fireworks were insane last night. Like, I didn't even see any, but I could just hear them all over LA. And you see some of those aerial photos. Look on Twitter and you'll see some of them. It's just like explosions over the entire city with smoke everywhere. Everybody's pets going insane. Oh, man. 419 people online. It's great to have you guys here. Hope you had a good 4th. Spy 590 says, I think I speak for many here when I say it would be great to see you do a video series on the way you record your demos and emphasis on drum programming. Yeah, we talked about that a little bit earlier. All right, I'll do a video. I feel like I kind of owe them a video anyway, but I'll do a video for Tune Track. I'll just put it in my, I've got a little list that, I don't know, here's my phone, of video ideas. I'm gonna write down that idea right now. I've got a whole bunch of ideas here for videos. So tune track drum demo. I'll show how I do that. Some of my ideas right now are my favorite guitars, which I started already with the 335 video, and that seemed to be something people liked. My favorite amps, my favorite pedals, maybe for each category, like favorite drives, favorite distortions, favorite compressors, top ones. My oddball guitars, I've got like some cool ones around here. They're obviously the Danelectro, the baritone, the Suhr that I've got here, a few different ones. So, and then I've got other ideas here for videos, like obviously more amps in the zone, vintage versus new guitars, how I set up guitars, how to craft a great solo, video on noise reduction, because I've got a noisy studio. Like there's a lot of electromagnetic interference in here, and how I deal with that, how to kill hum, so killing your tone. Modeler versus the real deal. We've all seen those, but where I could maybe compare a few of the amps that I have here with the best of the modelers I have here, and the surprisingly versatile plexi. Show how to dial a plexi in for some clean sounds and different things. So those are some ideas I have for future videos, and now I'll include the drum programming one into that. Thanks, Spy590, for doing the top chat, and I wrote down your idea. I shall address it. Okay, moving down to the bottom of the chat. Let's see here. The fireworks have been upsetting for veterans lately too. I hope it settles down. Yeah, it's folks with post-traumatic stress disorder and stuff, and pets. It can be really a disturbing thing. So it's a good thing to keep in mind, because it's been nuts this year, right? Just like over the top. So many fireworks leading up to the 4th, like every night. My neighborhood is just like, they're just both where my studio is and my home. They both just going off all the time, and it like 2 a.m. and stuff. Many times it's a little crazy. Yeah, the Japanese shops prices are much higher, it seems, than what gear sells for here, says Dripping Glass. I would agree with that. I don't know if it'll continue, or like when I bought my telly, I felt like I got a good deal on it. Not a great deal, but a fair deal, and maybe a little bit less than what I was seeing them for in the States. And now I feel like guitars are less in the States than what they like the last. So that was a long time ago that I got that guitar, 6 years ago. And now I feel like that flipped in the few years after that, where it was like I saw guitars coming down a bit in the States. And maybe that's just a reflection on, I don't know what, like we talked about this last week, like as far as like, are there going to be as many people that care about vintage guitars as time goes on? I think in Japan, the one thing about Japan is if you're into something, people are devoted there to their hobbies and their loves and their things that they're into. They're very, very passionate about things. So that fervor for like vintage guitars is not going to go away anytime soon. Whereas I feel like here, as people get older, it might be more, it's a weird thing to think about it like that. Like they might appreciate that longer than we would here, like American made instruments and stuff. But I think there might be some truth to that. Certainly it's what drove like the obsession with American vintage guitars in Japan is what drove the prices and the market to new heights in the 80s, as things were starting to get expensive, because they were nuts about vintage guitars there, and they just bought lots of them, and now a lot of them are over there. But yeah, so I think that might keep the prices higher over there longer. It's a cultural thing. I think that I don't know. I just don't know if the guitars will matter as much to people here as they will to people there, I guess, for a long. I could be way off, and obviously there's going to be exceptions to. It's not a hard and fast rule, but if you guys have been there, you'll know. I mean, like if you go to the guitar stores, you see what these people are serious about this. That's the thing. Like they're like, this is not like this is like the folks that if this is what they're into, they're 300% all in. With beautiful guitars, and if that's your thing, you go for it, So VJ's up there in the top chat. He says, advice for someone almost 50, still can't play a scale or chord to save his life, asking for a friend. Well, my friend, I mean, there's so many great lessons and stuff out there online now. I would recommend, like I think Paul Davids I love his manner and his style of teaching. I think he's got a beginner guitar course. Maybe check out Paul Davids. I'm pretty sure he's got a beginner and maybe an intermediate level guitar course. Check out what he's got going on, because he's so patient it's a video, there with him, but he's going to be very methodical about the way that he shows you. And I think that's what it takes, is that kind of methodical, very basic, slow, because everybody can learn. It's just like what pace you learn at, everybody learns a little differently. And I used to teach a lot of people guitar, and it was always interesting to me, even at a young age, when I was 17 or whatever, I was showing people guitar. It was like, different people's aptitude for learning something like a strumming pattern, and some people could pick it up the first time you showed it to them, and then someone else would be, months of like trying to get that internalized into them. And it's just different people have different, but everybody can learn. I think I do believe that, just given the right, the right tutors and stuff. So, and it might be good to find a teacher as well. If you could find a private instructor that could kind of keep you on track. It doesn't have to be like every week, even, you could go every couple of weeks or every month for a while and take something like the Paul Davids course and learn some things, and then go to them and ask them for guidance. And, am I picking right? Am I holding the pick right? Like I think I am, but, or whatever. They'll spot things in your playing that they can probably help you with. Marty Schwartz says, teammates. Yeah, Marty's great. Marty does, a whole bunch of lessons on, there's Ben says I missed a super chat. Patrick Carroll was asking what it would take to get Tom Bucca back. I don't know Tom, but I really like him. I'm a fan. I would ask him to do Sunday Live. He's awesome, isn't he? He's fantastic. I really enjoy his YouTube channel. So it would take just me probably getting off my ass and making some connections. Because hopefully he would want to do it. Maybe he wouldn't. I don't know. I don't want to assume. Maybe he doesn't like me. No, I don't know. I don't have any idea. He probably doesn't know who I am. I just never assume. I'm sure we would be friends. He seems like a really nice guy, and I really enjoy his channel. Let's see. Dan says, took my advice from last week and picked up a Bogner blue and red full-size pedals. They sound incredible and gave me 2 channels like I needed. Great. That's good. So you got the big ones. Both nice pedals. I did a video for both of them 10 years ago when they first came out. They've been out a long time. And they're both excellent, I think. I always thought they were very good. So, yeah. Any chance there will ever be $1,000 or $1,200 Suhr, says Fusion 72. Oh, I guess John's here. You here, John? I'm not seeing you in the house. There you are. What's up, dude? What are you doing? Why are you watching this? Why aren't you out by the pool? John has an amazing pool scene with an unbelievable view of the Inland Empire. Let's see here. Thomas says, is the red Strat type guitar John Suhr made for your rock tour available? John, is it? You could totally custom order one. You could literally hit them up and ask them, you would do it through a dealer. You would order the guitar and say, I want a guitar just like Pete's red guitar with the tortoiseshell pickguard. And the dealer would contact, and, they would go back and forth and make that guitar, and, down to the exact spec. Now, be aware that it does have a rather thin neck. It's not John hand-shaped the neck, but it came off my old Charvel Jackson in the 80s, and it has a very specific kind of shape to it, and it's very playable and fast, but it is a thinner neck. If you're used to whatever's going on these days with slightly fatter necks and stuff, it's different. But Steven says great version of Journey's Separate Ways from the Classic Rock Show the other day. I haven't even seen it, to tell you that. I know they put the video out, but I haven't seen it. I got silly in it. That's all you need to know. But yeah, I tried to nail the Neil Schon solo, and I think I got it. It took me a while to get the phrasing. It was tough. There's a great video on YouTube of a guy teaching it. That's I really now down. And I actually put up a version of me just jamming it on Instagram, and I added Neil, and he wrote back and said, "Closest I've heard, man," which was really nice. But he seems like a good guy. I've met him a couple times. I like Neil's Instagram. He's always sitting there in a chair jamming guitar, and it's always a different guitar. I don't know how he has enough space for all these instruments, but every day it's a different guitar, and there's hundreds of guitars on there that he's just sitting there kind of soloing, playing lead over stuff, and it's fun to hear him. He seems like a hardcore jammer practicer, even now, all these years. Is a swamp ash body needed for Van Halen 1 and 2 guitar tones? Says Chris Cam. I don't think it's necessary 100%, but I think that, I'll tell you what, my black guitar with the hard ash body has a very distinct sound. It is very bright, and it has that sound. And it's a, supposed Frankie body. It's great. You can see the headstock. It's the one in the stand right there. But that guitar so it's not swamp ash, but it's northern ash. It's rather heavy. Got the guitar probably weighs like 10 pounds for a Strat. It's really heavy. And I'm a believer in wood definitely affects sound, and that guitar, it's got a very distinct tone that's beyond the electronics and all that, I think. Arthur is up in the super chat. He says, I don't have any questions, just showing love and support. Thanks, man. Appreciate that. Thank you guys for doing the top chat. I appreciate it. I do. You're supporting this independent musician. Thank you very much. And I hope I can be of help somehow to you out there. Landon Bailey's in Ottawa. How are you doing? Congratulations on crushing the coronavirus in your province of Ontario. I heard there was only 121 new cases the other day, which is extraordinarily low for an entire province of 14 million people. Very impressive. Doing it right. Let's see here. Chris Cam says, can I get a petition signed for the PT50 since both John Suhr and you are here? John, what do you say? What do you say, John? Let's have lunch this week. Let's have a socially distanced lunch and move it forward. The fans have spoken. Journey video is great, says Tommy Gleason. Our mutual friend Steve Danger sends his regards. Steve Danger, that guy's awesome. He was our bus driver on the Classic Rock Show tour, and he's a drummer as well. And his name is Steve Danger. So when you got a guy named Steve Danger driving your bus, you are. Yeah, dude's a maniac. Steve's really cool. I like him. All nice people on that tour. Everybody was really nice. Say hi to him for me, please. Thomas says, Pete, where can I find the exact specs of that red guitar with the tortoise pickguard? Shall I email Suhr? If you email cs@suhr.com, I'm sure they would provide you with info about it. And just tell them Pete's custom candy apple red, vintageized, aged Strat. Tim Carter is up there in the top chat. He says, I'm a self-absorbed melodic shredder. I'm a total mess. Pretty much describes me, dude. We're pretty similar. Is there a business strategy to penetrating Japan like Paul Gilbert and Marty Friedman? I mean, probably no strategy other than going there and playing, trying to get a record out and going. I don't know how those guys did it. But Marty just, it was probably music school. I mean, I think MI was maybe the big catalyst that got them over there. I could be wrong, but there's MI there and there's music school. If you can get over there and you're teaching, obviously you've got a reason to be there. There's Japan's a tough place to break into if you don't have a reason to go. If you're brought there professionally by an organization or a company or some reason to be there, it's great because they will take care of you, and it's generally the pay is good and the vibe is good and you work hard, but it's like, you're there for something. And but to just show up there and try and make it I don't think is a viable plan. You need to have a reason to be there, a reason to get in order to get to Japan. Unless, of course, you're just unbelievable on guitar or something, and then like you're somebody like like Mateus or something who's does really well in Japan, because of course they're guitar crazy and his videos made it over there and everybody knows who he is now. So that can happen too, or Ingve or something, right? They love great guitar. So, but to just kind of break in there, how to get started, I don't know. I would probably, yeah. I mean, I work for a Japanese artist, so when I go there. So I've got a reason to be there. Or like last time I went with Suhr to do a clinic. You gotta have this kind of a reason to go there, and some way to get in. Otherwise, there's a language barrier and everything else, and it's tough. Half of Marty's IG posts are in Japanese. Yeah, he's been there forever. I mean, he's a completely fluent. I think he's more of a television personality more than anything now, to be honest. He's on a lot of shows and stuff over there, and he puts out records and everything. He's got a multifaceted career. I'll put it to you that way. And he obviously really likes it. And I at this point, if that option was presented to me, I'm pretty sure I'd just, all right, let's go. Tokyo, give me an apartment in Shibuya. I'm all in. Sold. Done deal. Where do I go to language classes? Where do I start? Sign me up. Mamu Danish says, on a lower gain boost setting, does the Suhr Eclipse stack well with other high gain fuzzes like the Big Muff? I don't think of a Big Muff as being something that stacks well with necessarily anything, but that's just me. I think of a Big Muff like David Gilmour into a high watt. I'm more of the Big Muff is the sound. I don't stack a Big Muff with anything. I've never even tried. I mean, to me, it would be too much because they're so gainy. I mean, it's just tons of distortion going on. Maybe into a crunch sound, but anything beyond a crunchy Marshall or high watt, I would think would be too much in my mind. So I don't know about using the Eclipse with a Big Muff. I think that would be too much for me. Phil is up there in the top chat. He says, Pete, I never purchase a pedal without watching your review. The Drybell Unit 67 has been on my board since I saw your review and is a big part of my rig. So thank you. Awesome. Great pedal, like great always on kind of, or on most of the time kind of pedal, isn't it? We also both love sushi, so have some yellowtail on me. Dude, you're too kind. Thank you, Phil. I appreciate that. Yeah, the Unit 67 is awesome, as is their new engine pedal that's got the, that they make a friendly Rangemaster is what they make. It's not it's not as aggressive as a real Rangemaster, I find, but it captures a lot of the color of a Rangemaster. And their pedals that include that. I don't know. They just they do some nice Drybell, some nice combinations of vintage style stuff, don't they? With the Unit 67 with a nice, kind of transparent compression with a simple EQ and a Rangemaster. That's just a great combo for a front end to hit, and then the engine is similar with the Marshall voice, and then hitting that with the Rangemaster. That's a classic thing, and I don't think anybody else has put it in one pedal like they have. It's very nice. So do Northern Ash bodies sound similar to soft maple bodies in super strats? That's a good question for John. I don't know. There's probably similar qualities between Northern Ash and maple with the bright thing going on, but I don't know about soft maple. That's a little bit above my pay grade. James says, Pete, that Aura Amps Crunchmaster video was great. What a sweet sounding pedal. Yeah, it's a nice sounding pedal, right? You heard it compared to the drive channel on my amp. A little bit more pedal-like, a little bit fuller through the mids, but similar, right? It's a good sounding pedal for sure. I'm glad you liked it. Yeah. Just a random question. Will there ever be $1,000 to $1,500 Suhr, says Fusion 72, and that's a question for John directly. I am gonna just say I don't think so, but if John wants to contradict that, John says keep your pants on, not in reference to you, teammates, but or Fusion 72. Sorry, different. I got my favorite YouTube guys mixed up. Fusion 72. Yeah, I think it's just the cost of doing business in California now and stuff that, you see some guitars, they're always working on things to try and bring in great kind of, I don't want to say like entry level because that sounds like cheap, but like but simple guitars with a simple spec that allow them to bring in the lowest price point possible. But it's hard, I think, at the under $2,000 price point is really tough to make a beautiful handmade instrument in California and bring in a guitar for that. You're not seeing anybody do it really, like very few. Uh, and it's just the cost of doing business, So you'd have to go overseas. And what the interesting thing about John is that he just doesn't, his business model be damned or whatever. I just think, I don't want to speak for him because he's here, but he could say it. But I think in talking to him, the reason that he got into this whole thing and what drives him is building amazing stuff that he personally has his hands on or close to it, there's a control thing there in the factory where he has the quality control and the control over the way that things are done. And the idea of even designing a guitar and then having it built elsewhere and that guitar being shipped to stores and stuff, and he's not really involved in that process beyond the design. That's not really that's not where his heart is, So correct me if I'm wrong, John, but that's from my discussions with him, and you don't have to have, the thing about this is you don't have to have, you look at, like John has a lot of respect. We use the example of Tom Anderson, who's never done a low priced or import guitar or anything. And it really doesn't make that many guitars. It's kind of a small scale operation. I think that is fine. Anderson doesn't have to, right? And Suhr doesn't have to. It's like people might like it, but there would all, I don't know about you guys, but like I remember when Charvel in the 80s was small, and when they made my guitar, and every guitar that came into my local store, because this was the first sort of boutique guitar that I ever saw or whatever, was when I think about the Charvel Jacksons when they came out, and the guitar was exploding in the 80s. Everybody was playing them, and it was a big deal. And those guitars came to my local, to Mother's Music in Edmonton. Everyone that came in was meticulous and beautiful, and they were like just perfect, and they weren't that inexpensive, and I had to, work hard to get one of those, and I still have that guitar. As a matter of fact, recently, when John did the neck on that guitar to put on my red guitar, the fella at Suhr that was putting the guitar back together, he was reassembling my old Charvel Jackson. He put it together, and he's like, man, this guitar, or like whoever made this guitar is really, like, this guitar was really well made. And I go, I know, right? Like the way all the plates and everything were countersunk in the back, and the way the neck fits in the neck pocket, you have to push the neck into the neck pocket to get it in. It's just, and then you clamp it down. It's like the neck was made for that body, and the way that the neck lines up with the edge of the body, like, so the neck is here and then the body's here, and they bolt, and there's like, you can almost not feel the difference between the neck and the body on the side. For a bolt on, it's like, it's the tolerances were just, whoever was making those guitars, there were some really good people in the shop. So when they came out then with Charvel, and they shifted made in Japan, and they shifted the Charvel name to the Japanese guitars, and they kept Jackson for the US ones, which was around when mine was built, because it's Jackson on the headstock with a bolt-on neck. When that happened, and then a couple years went by, and then they started making them, maybe not in Japan, like maybe Korea or something, and it was like, oh, it's getting like, they're just sort of expanding this cheaper thing, less money, like a little bit of a race to the bottom kind of thing, and trying to make guitars. And it's like it lost prestige for me or something. It's like the first ones were great. And I had a Model 2 that was a great, the early Japanese. I wish I'd kept that guitar. It was cool. It was a red Model 2. And I think I routed it for a neck humbucker. So, because they were originally just the bridge and the locking tremolo, one volume control. I routed that guitar out for a neck pickup and put a switch on it, so it was much like my US Jackson. Anyway, it was a really, really good guitar. But beyond, like, I don't know, they lose a little something. I'm getting so long-winded on this topic, but I just think there's nothing wrong with keeping it about US made in California. It ain't going to be that cheap, but it's going to be the best, Linger 1234 is up there in the top chat. Delio, he said, thanks for doing these. Thanks, man. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. I do. You guys are awesome. You guys are the best. How many people here? 433 people. That's amazing. Yeah, is Warren here? I got all kinds of people in here. Produce like a pro. We got Warren Huart here. How are you, my friend? Good to see you. Also putting out the video we did with Quist on Tuesday. Warren, I meant to say, I know I screwed up and I didn't have a headset on. I made a video with my buddy Quist and Warren for Warren's channel, kind of an interview between all of us, and I didn't have a headset on. And I thought, stupidly, when I do these things, the way that I do them, I don't usually wear a headset and I keep the speakers low. But the fellow that was editing the video that Warren did with us, where all three of us were talking, I know there was some echo and problems with my mic, and I've been meaning to contact you and say I apologize for that, and I hope it was salvageable. So I guess it was, and I hope it wasn't too much work for you. I would have been happy to just do it again, and let's make another one soon. Let's see. Yeah, okay. Ethan Rick says Hamer is another good example. I love the US made ones, but it seems like most of my friends are like, those are like $200 guitars, right? Because of the cheaper imported ones. That's what happened to Hamer. Same as Charvel. Same as Kramer. You start building stuff and then it dilutes not only you've got a cheaper product to sell then, but your brand, which was once this icon of quality, now becomes like a lot of people like the Hamer. Oh, those are cheap, right? Because it's like, they sell a lot more of those. So then that becomes what you're about a little bit more. And I don't know if that's, and it only seems to, it seems like the eventual, like the magic that was a part of the brand or whatever just gets kind of diluted and then it just goes away, And we all remember Hamer, but I don't think about Hamer as being a significant force in guitars beyond the 90s. I thought that they were really cool, and the Hamers were cool in the late 70s and the early 80s. It was like a US made guitar when Fender and Gibson sort of sucked, and we're making a lot of, and their business was, Hamer was like a pretty well respected brand back then amongst pros. I mean, Steve Stevens was using him. You saw Andy Summers and Rick Nielsen, of course, like all kinds of great guitar players were looking at Hamers and playing them. And then in the 90s, it was like, oh, they hooked up with Cayman or whatever, and they started making these guitars. It just kind of, I don't know, man, it just doesn't, it's not a thing anymore. I don't want that, I'd rather have cheaper guitars be cheaper guitars, and then the great guitars stay the great guitars. I don't know, Produce Like a Pro, Warren says, just watch your video with Bob Clearmountain. Amazing. Thanks, man. I felt so bad because I took this camera. I don't want to make excuses, but I took a camera that one of the angles is super crappy and grainy. And I just felt bad about it because I know Bob deserves better. But I work alone. I didn't have an assistant. And it's like, sometimes that happens on my videos are pretty homebrew. But I don't think it matters. Ultimately, the audio was fine, good enough to understand our conversation really well. And Bob's, it's a pretty candid discussion and just kind of like two guys hanging out. If you guys haven't seen it, please check it out. I put it out yesterday. Most guitars, there could be limited interest for a video with a producer or mixer, but please check it out. There's great stories on there about just great guitar related stuff. Stevie Ray Vaughan coming in to record, Let's Dance album with Bowie, and he just showed up with nothing but a super reverb and a chord. And Bob's like, yeah, I put a 57 on his amp, put up a couple of room mics, and away we went. And that's what you hear, And it's just some really good stories about Nile, some great guitar related stuff. And if you're a music fan, the stories about Springsteen and the Stones, and it's good stuff. So I hope you guys will check out the video. Bob Clearmountain, part 1 on my channel. So part 2 will be coming out pretty soon. And it'll feature a song that Bob mixed for me that day when I was there. And also a lot of info about like how he's mixing, how he uses his new signature plugin that he's got with Apogee, adding effects, doing things like de-essing into reverbs and delays, which allows you to push the level of the reverb delay up and not having it take over and wash over the mix when there's not these plosive S's and P's and stuff going into the verbs and the delays and all that. So the one thing that I found really interesting that I understood after meeting with Bob that day, because I've known him for a long time, but I finally kind of got it. It's like he, in his mixes, is trying to create, I think, a live feel. He likes the, as he calls it, distortion to some degree, but the feel of being at a great sounding live show with the crowd and the ambience and the kind of how the sounds meld together. And he uses reverb and delay and stuff like that to create that kind of excitement, which is what you hear in his mixes, with something like the mix for Born in the USA or the mix for, I don't know, Stone stuff he's done, or when you think about, just his the Bryan Adams, certainly, you listen to something like the chorus on Run to You or something like that, and what he was trying to create, like this feel of live music almost, but it's recorded music, so I got that after meeting with him, that he was trying to create that vibe all the time without him saying that in so many words, I think. Can you do that, Charvel, for your next About a Guitar episode? Yeah, I could do that. I should show that guitar because it's like such a big part of. That was a guitar that I really practiced on. That's better. That was a guitar that I really practiced on when I was growing up and spent a lot of years on. God, I hate this. Okay, I think next Sunday when you see me, I got a new haircut. It's driving me nuts. Oh, God. All right. Abracas is asking John Suhr if he's ever experimented with 2 fret width sizes, keeping the height the same to make it easier in tight spaces after the 12th fret. That's funny you mentioned that. That's what Jakey Lee does. He's got 1 fret size from the 12th or 14th on up, and then it's 6100s below that. So it's a smaller, like I think a 6105 or whatever is all the way up. But he also uses a 24 3/4 scale, so it's a tighter fit, getting up higher on the neck. Yeah, I know what I'm saying. Okay, what else we got here? Hat, bruh, says Tom. I know, dude. Maybe I should just wear a hat and then just look at it in a year. Resist the haircut, says Mateo. See you guys. Making me think. Maybe I will. It's gonna look cool. It'll look cool. Like my hair's cool when it's long. It's just gonna take 6 months or a year, and then it'll be badass. I know it, but I can grow a good head of hair. That's one thing I can do. Have you seen the new Neural DSP plugin, Corey Wong? That's interesting. I haven't even heard of that. No. I would like to see that. Probably geared towards his stylings. I should take a listen to that. I like that company. They're doing some interesting things. I'll take a look and look at that. Awesome interview with a legend, says Guitar 77, I guess, with regards to the Clear Mountain interview. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. What else should we got here? I could listen to those stories for hours, says Ian, I guess, with regards to the Bob interview. Thanks, man. I'm glad you liked it. Please share it with people because I'd like to get more people seeing it. And I want to build that part of my channel a little bit more. I mean, when it comes to recording, like if I am going to do a drums, some people ask about how I program drums. Well, I need that, it's kind of like Warren Hewart. If you're still here, Warren, you've got that, overall like music production kind of audience and stuff like that. I would love to have a little bit more of that, folks that are interested in recording, interested in production, interested in songwriting, because my thing has been so guitar based. And so it just takes time, I know, and kind of building but getting that momentum going. When I put out a video on bass, like a bass overdrive or distortion pedal, or how I did a video a while ago about how I do 3 tracks for bass and add overdrive to one of them and all this kind of stuff. And it sort of gets okay views, but not, I just don't know that there's that great interest out there with my subscriber base. So I'm trying to expand a little bit and grow it. What's my favorite reverb pedal to use with the Suhr PT15IR? Got the amp 1 month ago and I love it. Well, the one I use mainly is the H9 from Eventide. I find it works really well in the loop. I use the spring reverb, the Earth, which is kind of like a Hall or something, I guess. I don't know. And I use a couple of the more ambient, kind of like the Black Hole reverb is wonderful for ambient stuff. And it sounds great in the loop. Now, plenty of different reverb pedals will work well. The Source Audio one's really good because it's got delay built in too, and you can do them in parallel. And the Collider, it's called, I think. I did a video for that on my channel, so you can check that out and see if you like it. But a Big Sky, a Flint, any of these are going to be a nice Nice addition. The True Spring from Source Audio, if you like spring reverb, is wonderful. Really nice sounding, just spring reverb, but man, it sounds good. Really cool. Okay. Let's see. Make your production tips geared towards guitar players and use small words, says Toby Ellis. Good advice. All right. We would love recording series, says Guitar 77. Thanks, man. Yeah, I will do more. I mean, the drum thing makes sense. Yeah. A lot of us respect your recording skills, says Guitar 77. Thanks, man. Thank you. Yeah, no, it makes sense to move into that. I mean, I know a lot of people ask me to do a video about programming drums, so I should do that. Yeah. Okay. Somebody's up there in the top chat. Rich Monk says, losing my battle with baldness. Cry me a river about your luscious flowing hair problems. Best hair ever was late 70s, Eddie. Eddie did have a hell of a head of hair in the late 70s, didn't he? Yeah, it was good looking. He was gifted by the hair gods. John Suhr, you guys are talking about Americans working in America. That gets too political. We can't talk about that. Okay. I'm an immigrant. Everybody keep that in mind. I am an immigrant. I know I might sound like I'm from here, but I'm not. So there you go. September Fire said that his 4th of July sucked. He stayed indoors. I stayed indoors mostly too. I went and walked and got ice cream. And other than that, I watched The Shining. It was on last night. God, that movie's still so friggin' scary. When the little girls show up. Ooh. It's so creepy. The first scene where they show up where the kid's beside the hotel room door and then they just flash it for I wonder how long they fine-tuned the clip. You know what I mean? Like how long they show them for when they first, because you're like, what the hell is that? Those two girls. It's so freaky. And can you imagine what it would have been like in a theater in 1980 when, to see that and just be like the sound in the theater of everybody freaking out. It's so trippy. It's still so trippy. It's like, oh God, that's creepy. What does that mean? It's kind of crazy. The editing in the movie is kind of crazy, as Jack Nicholson's descending into madness. It's actually not that smooth. He seems like kind of nice, normal guy. And then the next thing you know, he's sitting at the table when his wife comes in and tells him she'll bring him a sandwich or something, some food. And he kind of freaks out and tells her just get the hell out of here when I'm working in here. You're distracting me. And he's being such a jerk, And it's it's not a real smooth transition into madness. All of a sudden stuff gets crazy, but I don't know. It's pretty good. Which Synergy modules do you dig? Well, I've tried some of them and using them with maybe you saw the video I did with my PT-15 where I used the preamp thing and used it into the effects return. And I found it interesting to use some of the heavier ones with my amp because my amp's very Marshall based, but using something like an Engel Savage module or something like that gives it a completely different character. And so those are the ones that I really think, for me personally, are maybe the most interesting ones, are the ones that are going to give me a completely different sound. And that Savage one's really cool to add to the PT-15 or any kind of Marshall-based amp because it's a more grindy, modern kind of, distortion than different than a Marshall kind of thing. It gives you a different color. So if you're going to layer maybe 2 tracks, hard pan one, you could do one with the front end of my amp and one with that or something, and then you'll get this big blended sound that sounds really cool. Their Powerball one sounded cool too, in kind of a high wattish but more gain way, I thought. Yeah. Video idea: how to sound like Brian May with different guitars, or maybe without a treble booster. There's no way to do it without a treble booster, but the different guitars is not that hard. You can get most of the flavor with the right amp and the treble booster. If you're playing a Strat, you can get really close, I think, with the right amp and a treble booster. But so the guitar is actually, in my mind, because the treble booster is such a sonic stamp on the sound, between the speakers, like an AC30 Alnico speakers crying for help because they're being driven so hard. And the treble booster in front of that sound is the primary, it's not a guitar into amp sound. It really isn't. Now his guitar has very unique sounds for sure, but the primary character to me is that treble booster into the thingamajig, into the AC30 sound in my mind. Yeah. Okay. What else we got here? Thanks for my knees hurt for the info. Do you know what drum program he uses? Are you guys talking about me? I use Superior Drummer and Superior Drummer 3 and Easy Drummer 2. Those are the main ones I'm using right now. Guitar 77 says, agree, the Savage sound very different than the PT15. Yeah, different and cool. Just another color that, different high gain flavor. 77 Danny is over in Austria, and he says, thanks for sharing your knowledge with us. Music is the soul of your society's lives. Love it, man. Awesome. Austria. I haven't been there for a long time. I was there in 2012 last. I was in Vienna with Melissa Etheridge, and I remember we went into a local market, and a guy there sold us some sauerkraut. It was like a farmer's market. It was amazing. The guy's like, this is good for you. You should eat this. And I love sauerkraut. So I was like, hey, I'm all about it. You don't preaching to the converted. Don't get to talk me into it. Oh, yeah. What else we got here? Have I tried the J-Rocket Audio, the Dude pedal with the PT15 IR? No. Not with that particular amp, but I did do a video for the Dude, and I probably used it into the PT100, I think. It's been a minute. That was a long time ago. It's kind of dumbly, right? That's their dumbly pedal, I think. That's what they were going for. John, are you leaving? Don't go. You got to go? It's been good to have you here. It's always nice when you stop in. So there's all kinds of folks stopping in today. It's been awesome. Let's see here. I'm thinking of buying a Boss MD800 multi-track recorder as entry level into making my own songs. Would anyone recommend? Thank you in advance. I guess it depends on your workflow. Like the idea to me of using a separate recorder these days, like to do any kind of multi-track recording other than a computer, I just don't really, with a laptop, you've kind of got everything you need. Even an iPad these days, they have what you need. So I would just get a good interface personally, and use that, with a laptop rather than a hardware-based thing. That's my honest feel. I mean, you get a Mac, it comes with GarageBand. You've got enough in there where you can start. You can make a 8 or 16 track recording or whatever easily on any Mac, and just get a decent 2-channel interface, and away you go. Just learn the software. The learning curve is going to be no steeper than if you got the hardware recorder. It's going to be the same probably as learning a GarageBand or something. So, okay. What else have we got here? We got. Amazing guitar. What are your thoughts about? Renan is asking about solid state frets versus nickel frets. My feel. I like solid state, stainless steel. Oh God, my mind. I like stainless steel frets on a guitar that, like on my signature guitar, for example. I like them on most guitars, and I like them on guitars where they come. This is just like a mental thing with me, where they come first on that guitar. Like the guitar was built with them. Then I got no problem with them. On a Les Paul or a vintage guitar, I'm going to stick with nickel. I think it's a part of those guitars and the way that they sound and the way that they play and feel. And something about solid, I was going to say it again, solid state, something about stainless steel frets. Like, because I did one Les Paul with stainless steel frets, and it just bothered me a little bit afterwards. And it's not that I don't like stainless steel frets. I do, but the guitar had nickel frets, and I just felt like it kind of changed the guitar in a way that, I don't know. Everything, it was just like a little, like the way they look, stainless state, says True Tech. the way they look, the way that they ping ever so slightly when you hit the string. You know, the guitar, the sound of the guitar acoustically changed a little bit. I don't know that it was audible through an amp, but the sound of the guitar when I would play it unamplified just had this little ping to it that it was like, this guitar didn't sound like that before, and it just bothered me just ever so slightly. And I thought, oh, I wish I'd just done the nickel frets on this guitar. So that's the only thing. But on a guitar that they come with, John's, what's up, John? How are you? He says, Pete. On a guitar that they come with, like my signature guitar, I have no problem with. You know, so John built me a guitar a while ago. This is my white Suhr. And that guitar has a nickel on it, I believe, because he asked me, and I was like, it was supposed to be like a vintage style classic S, you know, and I was like, well, let's do the vintage style fret then. I don't know. Big Boss says he dislikes them. I don't dislike them, but oh, John's asking, is profiling an amp you don't own stealing? Is profiling an amp you don't own stealing? You know how I feel about it? I wish that all the companies would take the lead and the approach of a company like UA, which licenses the amp name and design and works with the original manufacturer and pays them a commission on sales for amp model. Now, I know the profilers, they're made so that you can profile an amplifier. You can essentially almost model it yourself, right? But it would be a great step, I would think, if the companies such as, you know, just in my opinion, if the companies such as Line 6, Fractal, and these companies worked with the amp manufacturers to make officially sort of sanctioned models that they include in their, that feature the name of the product, and there's not this, like, you know, I mean, I'm a big fan of Line 6. I like the Helix. They call the Friedman one the Placator. I wish they would just, to be honest, just work with Friedman and just make sure he approves of it, and you know, that kind of thing, right? Or the Badger or whatever, my PT100, because that's what happened with the, I feel like it's a really successful thing, like the PT100 UA Brainworks collaboration. I would say, John, how do you feel about it, John? I mean, I think that tell me how you feel in the comments, if you don't mind. I feel like the UA collaboration is the perfect way to approach amp models, amp modeling. And that way, you know that we listened to it, we checked it out, we give it the stamp of approval, and it's been a very, very popular model for you, or very popular, you know, plug-in of a modeled amp, you know. So that's what I think. What do you think, John? What about if they use a trademark name to sell it, says John? See, I don't think that that's good. I think that they should be paying. So you're saying, I think, John, what you're asking about is like people that profile amps and then sell them as packages on their, you know, whatever, the independent dudes that make amp profiles on something like Kemper, and then they sell their Kemper pack. I guess the answer is I haven't done it, so that's why I haven't done it. Is, to be honest, you've got me sussed out. I collect amps, I get amplifiers, and you know, maybe on a vintage amp or something. But even then, I guess I got to stay consistent. So I would say no. I don't think it's good. I think that I don't know if it's a war that can be won or a battle that's even worth fighting. But I do think the right way to do it is like our relationship with UA. You know, that's what I think. Eric Johnson says, I wish there was more of an original creative ethic in our capitalist system. Yeah, I'm just giving credit where credit is due, you know. ST says, stealing of what exactly? Well, I think what John's saying is that you've got people using a trademarked name, which means you own the name, to sell something on their website that they essentially took, right? It's not, they're saying, you know, get the sound of the blah, blah, blah amp. That name is trademarked to a company. They're making money by selling something that, you know, it's, you know, I think it's crossing the line a little bit, you know. I think the least that they could do is not use the name, right? The trademark name, which is why you see companies like Line 6 say the Placator instead of a BE100 or whatever. They come up with a different name for they're like, yeah, we're not going to go there, because they know they got a legal department. And they're like, yeah, you don't go there. You're opening yourself up to potential problems. So they at least don't do that. But I would go one further and say I think it would be great if they worked close together. So there's lots of questions here that I feel like I just saw pop up, and then I kind of got off on that. And yeah. John Suhr Dripping Glass says, I have the Axe 3 and they use Dave's name in the models. That's true. And I believe that the Axe Effects folks they get permission to actually do it. But I would go one further and say, I just think it'd be great if they pay to do what UA does and pay a royalty of some sort, you know? Yeah. Teammate says, thank you, Pete, for recommending Newark Renson and Dave for my guitar work and pedalboard builds. Both really nice people. Yeah, definitely. Both great guys. Newark Renson's a terrific tech here in the Valley, San Fernando Valley. And I've known him for over 20 years, and he do a fantastic job. Yeah. Why did you buy that L5 series amp, the lab amp that's back there? 2 words, Ty Tabor. I just had to know. And it does sound cool. It's cool. I got to use it on something. It's just been sitting there. I haven't used it on anything, but it does sound cool. When you set it like he does, even without the right pickups, it sounds cool. So I should record a track with it just for fun. Write something that is in the spirit of, his tone, and just put it out. Do I like Red Sound Active speakers, says Stefano. I do. I did a video for them recently, and I've had no contact with the company since then, but which I need to do. But yeah, no, they do sound good. They make a good powered monitor, so you can find that on my channel. Yeah. What else we got here? I'm going to split pretty soon, but I'll answer a few more and then go. Joey Z says, what do I think about using the aux for touring instead of Kempers and such? Like just bringing your head in the aux. Sure. I mean, that's essentially what I started out talking about today, using a reactive load and speaker simulation to the PA, which I've done lots of. And yeah, you can store a preset in the aux that you like, get a great sound, very direct present sound going to the PA. I don't mean direct like a DI guitar. I mean like a in your face kind of very, really good mic'd up in your face tone that's dialed in. Yeah, I think it's a good idea. Anytime I've used IRs to the PA, sound people are always impressed with it. They're like, oh, this is great. A lot of them haven't tried it, and then they'll try it and go, this is good. But some of them have. Like my original using speaker simulation to the PA was on tour with Jewel in 2006, and the woman that was running sound, her name was Michelle. And I worked with her again years later. She's great and great front of house. She did Melissa Etheridge sound years later. But anyway, she talked me into using a Palmer in the PA. And I'm not even that big of a fan of the Palmer speaker simulator sound, but in a PA, it sounds great. It's like, I think you can do better with IRs now, but back then, even that was like, because she said, come out and listen to it in the PA, what it sounds like. She had a Micom amp, then she had the Palmers, and she AB'd, and I was like, oh, I see what you like about it. And it was just this very present, clear sound in the PA, with other musicians playing and things like that. You could really hear the guitar tone clearly in the PA. And anytime you use a microphone, if there's bleed, the mic is in a less than optimal position and there's the bass amps getting into it and stuff, it just creates enough muck that it's not as right in your face in the PA. So that's what I like about it. So that's what using something like the aux or sort of reactive load or, along these lines will give you in the PA. Mr. Meadowfield says an early thanks and take good care from Edmonton. Nice to have you here. Take care all. Thanks for being here. Terry says he thinks there's nothing wrong with profiling, but selling it as the sound of trademark product name is just like making a mixtape CD and selling it without paying the artist. Yeah, I agree. I think that yeah, I think that it's a thing where if you're gonna, they should be contacting the company and getting offering some sort of official. I mean, obviously that'd be these guys that sell these packages. They'll do a Diesel and a Suhr and a Friedman and a Marshall and a Fender and a whatever. And there's like 15 different amps in the packages, and then they sell it all as a producer pack. And how are you going to pay all those people? I guess, but I don't know. I guess it's the world we live in. What are you going to do? We've tried to kind of counter this by making a product, like rather than beat them, join them sort of thing. Let's make a tube amp that has built-in IRs that you can use right to a PA as you would these things. Then you can have the real deal. Because no matter what, like I have a Kemper, I like it. I've got all the modelers. I have all of them, and except for the neural one, and I love them for what they are, and they're great tools. And by the same token, you're never going to talk me out of the fact that turning on a tube amp and seeing it light up, it smells good. I can reach out, turn the treble. It's easy. And so that's what the PT15 is and what the 50 will be. It's just like we're trying to make a great thing that's that cool thing. It's just cool. You guys see that amplifier video? That John's in it, and I'm in it as well. And Tommy Hendrickson from Alice Cooper's band is in it. And he's looking at a Marshall stack in his Kemper, and he goes, "Are you kidding me?" He goes, "Look at these things. Look at that thing." He's pointing at the Marshall going, "Look at how fucking cool that is." And his like enthusiasm for it is amazing. And I can't sum it up any better than that. It's just look at that thing. Look how cool. And that's, I don't know whether or not younger people feel that way or not. It's like I feel that way. And I know John does. It's just like, they're just cool. It's easy. You plug it in, it roars, it makes a great sound. I don't know what's the, why change from that? So try to come up with something with these PT amps that give you that, and then also some of these modern conveniences, and going, you won't need an aux with it. You can go right to the PA with it, and once you try it, it's kind of addictive. There's the mega thread that's on the PT15 that's on the gear page. You can read, and you can read a lot of people. What I love is people are doing it. They're getting it, and then they're like, tried it at band practice last night, went right into the PA. This is brilliant. Or tried it at a gig, and I got more compliments on my tone. This is amazing. You just have to try it once and go, oh, wait a second, this is brilliant. Like it really is. It's just a simple, easy to use, great sounding tool that puts it all in one package. So there you have it. Paul Watts is up there in the super duper top chat. He's in the UK somewhere. He says, I love these Sunday evening UK time live chats, and it's time I showed my appreciation for everything you do. Man, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Cheers for sharing your time with us. I can't wait to get back over there to the UK and play some more gigs. And I hope you'll have me again. So thank you. Thank you, Paul. Thanks for being here. And hope you're having a good night over there, wherever you are in the UK. Had our haircuts for next week, says Bobby Valdez. Who knows? You'll have to tune in and see what's happened. We're just not sure which way it's going to go. Incentive to come back. I don't know if that's much incentive to come back. Can you mimic a treble booster with an EQ boost? To some degree. That's Neil Raynard. But it has a unique quality to it, and almost like I don't know exactly what's going on with the transistors and stuff with a treble boost, but there's like a distortion factor to it too. That's like, it's a very imperfect kind of primitive thing. And it's, I'd say you can mimic it with an EQ, but I don't know that it's going to be the same as the kind of certain quality that you get out of. It's like you can mimic anything with anything, I guess, but I don't know if it's going to be the same. One thing that's kind of neat is John's Cocoa Boost, which is a mid boost pedal. It's like a more polite version of a Rangemaster to me. So it's just mid boost, but it mid and clean boost in one pedal. But the mid boost of it has a very, it's a little more friendly than the Rangemaster, which can be a little aggressive and searing. So that's another one to check out. That is basically an EQ boost, similar, but and also the Unit 67 pedal, which I love so much, is awesome. Still got 390 people online. Great, you guys are here. Lauren says he's going to cut his hair. Getting tired of flipping it around. Cut it short, dude. Just go for it. Feels good, man. The day you do it, you'll be like, oh, why did I wait to do this? Yeah. Bobby Valdez made a bad Thorn hat. It's a little prickly, though, joke. Thank you, Bobby. Thank you for that. Is a Coco like a full drive true? No, not at all. Full drive 2 original is sort of Tube Screamer-esque, I think. It's much more of an overdrive. Yeah. Hell's Bells or the Iron Maiden, says My Knees Hurt. I don't know, because I don't know the Hell's Bells. I'm a bigger AC/DC than Iron Maiden fan, but I like them both. Let's see. Hey, Pete, did you see the Rev G20 amp Sean Tubbs sent Tom Bukovac? I did not. It's a really sweet gesture. I kind of want to get one. I did not. The G20 is an amp with a load built in, but it's a single channel kind of pedal platform. Pedal platform amp. So it's a different thing than mine, really, I think. Soldano GTO pedal. I remember those. I never tried one. Somebody's asking if they're good. I haven't actually tried it. So let's see. Tim Carter says something about are people fighting or something? Something bad going on? I don't know. Sorry, Tim. Don't know what's happening. Wonder if John Suhr will ever make a flying V. I'd like one. I'd like a nice flying V. You know what guitar I really like is actually the Gibson custom shop flying Vs that have the block inlays, and you get the black ones or the red ones. When I see those sometimes in shops, and I sort of lust after them a bit, but they are like $4,000. It's like it's a lot of scratch for a flying V. I don't know if I'd play one that much. Would it be worth it? But they are cool looking, super cool. Yeah. All right, you guys. I think I'm going to wind it up and go do some other stuff. But I'll see you next week. Thank you for being here, John Suhr, and thanks to Warren for dropping in. And I think Leo might have been here. That's awesome. All you folks hanging out here with me. I really appreciate it. Thanks to Ben for being here and moderating. He's a good guy, that Ben. Make sure you check out his live stream on his YouTube channel, of course. Why do I not organize the big Pete Thorn tour, says Arnaud. I don't know if it'd be that big. It'd have to be the small Pete Thorn tour to start. Everybody starts somewhere. Never done a tour of my own. All right. You guys have a great week, and I'll see you next Sunday, okay? I'll be here. More amps, guitars, pedals, madness, chaos. See ya.